Well, hello there. I'm doing my Frederick Olsen. Is anyone impressed? Hello and welcome. No, of course not. Welcome to Backseat Designers episode 10. We had to. It is episode 10.
It's not episode 10 because the one we did yesterday is coming out the week after.
Fred told you that about 20 minutes ago. 20 seconds ago, not even.
You utter numbskull.
Well, you piece of shit. I thought we'd reverse the order. That's what I got out.
We can do that, but that's making me look like an idiot in the last episode, and we can't very clearly redo that, can we?
This is going in, by the way.
Awesome. Thanks.
It's never something similar to that has never happened before.
Oh, definitely not. Should we start again, or should we just keep going?
It's number 9, and I think you should start again.
Yeah, I probably should. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Backseat Designers episode 9 of season 4, and I got that right this time. Holy crap! Because we're doing these, we're doing 2 episodes sort of back to back in the same week, and that throws off our math skills. But I finally got it right, second time only. Episode 9, and hello to my 2 esteemed co-hosts, Mr. Frederick Olsen.
Hello.
And Dr. Gareth Millwood.
Hello.
Yes, ladies, he is a doctor, but he's also spoken for. I'm sorry. Fred, on the other hand,
not a useful
is
doctor.
Spoken for, but not a doctor.
That's true.
And he's a plague carrier. I'm just putting that out there. Don't go near him. If he coughs, run. Joining us is a person that I have been dying to talk to since I was in the wee age of 13 or 14. I can't remember how old I was when I played Rise of the Triad for the first time, but it was around then. I think it's a 1993 game. At any rate, holy crap, we've got Tom Hall on the fucking show. Hello, Tom.
Hello.
That was
Tom
a good
wins.
Fred impression as well.
Yeah, that was.
I got the beard and everything.
Yes.
Well, I shaved off the beard, so I'm not even doing a good Fred impression these days.
Fred, damn you. Update your avatar.
It will probably come around.
No. Do you know how long it takes for Fred to grow? I mean, he's just a wee baby. It takes forever for him to grow facial hair.
Yeah, like 10 years.
Oh.
But anyway, holy shit.
I've just realised what my Skype avatar is. That's an old photograph. That needs changing.
Now it makes you look uncharacteristically happy.
Yeah, that's why it needs changing.
This is brilliant for audio only, guys.
We'll put it in the blog post, no worries. So anyway, glad we've got all the pleasantries around. I suppose we should probably let the man himself, Mr. Hall, give us a brief rundown of why he's so awesome.
Oh, I have to do it. Oh dear. This is going to be the 30th year I've been in the game industry.
Ooh.
And so back in the day, I did Commander Keen and Rise, and Wolfenstein and Doom and Rise of the Triad and Anachronox and a bunch of mobile games, and now I'm doing mobile games. So blah.
That was good.
None of these games are very well known, so it's a great thing we had one of your former colleagues, John Romero, on the show a couple of weeks ago as well. You know, just to give people a brief rundown of these underdog games that no one's heard of.
Capture the cult game history of the 1990s.
Yeah.
Yes, and I like how you stopped yourself and just went, no, we're going to do this chronologically. Commander Keen, Wolfenstein, and it just went. So, holy crap, yes. I'm personally a huge fan of Rise of the Triad, which is weird because I'm a point-and-click adventure guy, and so are my 2 co-hosts, by the way. But Rise of the Triad is just one of those. It was so gleeful and over the top, and it dared to have fun in an era where things were starting to get very serious and dreary and kind of Actually, when you left it, sir, that's kind of when things started getting a little dreary. Do you just bring the sunshine everywhere you go?
Well, I mean, our family is not, is just basically who can tell the best joke kind of family.
Nice.
Just like to have fun, and I mean, I have sort of a penchant to bring out both the sublime and the ridiculous. So in Anachronox, I had a very serious story going on, and some true drama moments, but also just lots of ridiculous humor.
Oh, I had to get. I was actually getting to Anachronox, which, by the way, is a hard word to pronounce if English is your second language. Thank you.
Yeah, I can't count the number of times people have said Anachronox to me, but that's good.
Oh shit. Side note, I know you didn't work on this game, but growing up, my friends and I would play Heretic, and we would constantly call it Heretic because we didn't know where to put the emphasis.
Well,
stupid.
It's heretical, but
yeah.
This is like the second time you're talking to an id Software alumni about a game that he didn't actually work on.
Technically.
Nice.
Technically,
I know you didn't work on it, Tom, but what's the deal with Half-Life, man?
Yeah. I love Half-Life too. I played the hell out of that thing.
I know, right?
You're the second ex-employee we've had on the show to profess his love for Half-Life 2. I think there's a bug going around. But
it's just a landmark game in
it's brilliant
history.
That could be it as well. I wouldn't know. My computer can barely run fucking solitaire, let alone a high-end game like that.
You can barely run Skype, mate.
Yeah, that's the sound my computer makes when it boots up Windows. But yeah, I had to get Anachronox in there as well. Actually, you did it for me. But one of the clinching moments, I played that with a friend of mine because I'm also useless at RPG games. So a friend of mine was actually playing it, and I was watching it and giving him crappy feedback. And by the time,
spoiler alert, just in case you're about to spoil it.
Yep. Yeah, I am. But we're fond of spoilers on this show. We have no worries about that at all.
Not always deliberately, of course, but yes.
Yes.
Oh,
all right.
We just do it and don't care. But the second that the planet shrinks itself down and joins your party, both me and my comrade, that were just sitting there, mouth agape, going, "Holy shit! How did you even come up with that? This is the most awesome thing we've ever seen." So, yeah.
Well, in that moment, basically, that was a big payoff moment for me because I was starting to design the game originally. And I thought, like, well, what would be the most surprising thing that could happen? And I came up with like 7 or 8 of them or something like that. And one of them, one of the most surprising things to me is like blowing your sense of scale. Like when you think something is going to be 1 foot tall and it turns out to be, 1,000 feet tall, or vice versa. So that seemed to be surprising to me, and I'm glad it was surprising to everybody else.
It was fantastic. And shit, I had a train of thought that I just lost there. Fred, you go.
Well, I mean, I guess we want to, get on the rails with the subject already, which is let's go way back to the beginning. You mentioned Commander Keen first, and I would be very interested because everyone, I don't know if it's everyone, but the story about how it got started on doing this platformer on the PC that was kind of like going to be the competition to Mario has been going round lately. And there's like this story that you guys were working on a port of Super Mario 3, I think, wasn't it? And Nintendo turned that down, and you just went, well, fuck them, and you decided to make it your own thing.
Basically.
What was the process behind? I mean, how did you come up with that inventive world that you came up with, where little Billy Blaze shoots off in a rocket to Mars?
Well, I sort of came up with the vector that headed toward in about 15 minutes. So we said, well, they're going to publish it, and I could make up anything, and we all said, well, I think Carmack said, like, how about a little kid saves the galaxy or something, like, we'd all watched Warner Brothers cartoons or something like that. So I went off, and I had read, hundreds of science fiction books, including Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and but there was a number of foundational things that sort of snicked together. So there was a story, something like the available data on the warp reaction, WRRP, which is a short story, where I believe it was, I don't even know if they called it that, but it's basically an autistic kid, was just, not communicative. But then one day he just kept going out to the junkyard behind his parents' house and collecting a whole bunch of stuff in his clubhouse. And then he one day brought all the pieces out of his clubhouse, assembled it into a ship, got inside it, and it hovered off the ground and glowed like the anti-gravity. And then he landed it and then took all the pieces and put them back in the junkyard and didn't talk again.
Wow.
So that was a really cool story, and that was stuck in my mind. And also like Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century and stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
And there was, a number of,
There's a tiny bit of Flash Gordon in there as well.
Yeah, that too. There's a book called The Nosed Nose, which was sort of like, these kids have like a secret clubhouse, and The Mysterious Inventions of Alvin Fernald, which is about this little kid inventor who had his little secret hideout and stuff like that. And so a lot of those things came together. And then I was always picked on for being an egghead when I was a kid. So I felt bad, I wouldn't like get good grades because I could like ace stuff easily, but I kept getting picked on, and I did want to feel different because I was shy. So that I was kind of picked on relentlessly, or at least enough to make me super shy and not talkative. And then I realized this a lot of years later that I turned me as a kid, though, adding or doubling my IQ or something, but turned me as a kid and a smart person into a hero. So that was okay, and that was a good thing to be.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can certainly sympathize with that. I mean, you're talking to three computer nerds. Two of them live in a country that has barely even heard of adventure games or computer games, for that matter. I thought maybe we could interject a slight bit and actually tell the audience what today's topic is, because
Episode 9, Cheeses of Europe.
I feel like we'll have fewer arguments on that.
Did you when you decided to get going on Keen, Tom, and you wanted to tell this personal story, did you look at your contemporaries and go, we're gonna do better in terms of storytelling? I know you had a very clear vision on where you wanted the tech to go, but if we go beyond that, did you want to out Mario?
Well, I mean, Mario was clearly the inspiration, and also Chuck Jones cartoons were a big inspiration. I mean, the style is very reminiscent of that. And so I grew up on Chuck Jones cartoons, and that gave me sort of like a humor sensibility and sort of like the characters look at the camera kind of sensibility about comedic moments and stuff. And I mean, a lot of the sort of 50s sci-fi that inspired and back even to 30s sci-fi that inspired Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century, that cartoon, is infused into Keen. So you see a lot of that kind of theming. But as the character, just the sort of dual nature of him being a kid and secretly being like a hero of the universe, like a savior of the galaxy and so on, meant, like it's sort of like you have that, Superman dichotomy. You can't like tell anyone what you're doing, but you secretly have to do all this amazing stuff.
I would imagine his parents are wondering where the hell he is. Oh,
yeah,
I was just off to Mars for the weekend,
Well,
you really didn't want to eat his vegetables.
Yeah, well, that kind of played out. There's two things that played out. One is I was like the third child, and my parents were like 36 when they had me, so they were just kind of like, oh, he's acting a little nuts. Well, just let him act nuts, whatever. They're kind of like laid back. They were more strict disciplinarians back in the 50s kids, but the 60s kid was like,
If he wants to build a ship and call it the beans and bacon ship, or what is it?
Yeah, the bean with bacon mega rocket.
Yep.
For an example of my childhood, I decided to tie all the doors in the hallway that accesses the bathroom and bedrooms and office and stuff like that together with string, so it looked like like a big, like, weird, I don't know,
like a spider web kind of thing.
Yeah, like a spider web.
Didn't Cronenberg do a movie called Spider with a kid who runs around and does that?
Yeah, I didn't know. That's it. I'm going to sue him now. No, but I would just like do crazy stuff like that, and it's like, well, he'll sort it out. It's okay. He's got that. Anyway, but they also like put a game closet in the house, which had lots of 3D puzzles and stuff. So that really got my mind working, sort of spatially and creatively and stuff, which was good. And anyway, not eating your vegetables, though, is directly from one event where I wouldn't eat my peas and I had to sit at the table until I ate them, and I just basically fell asleep there, not eating peas.
No way. My dad put me through the exact same thing when I was a kid, and I bawled my eyes out for hours.
I don't think you're the first or last kids to go through that.
No, but it's weird that it had to be peas.
Yeah,
peas.
Exactly. They're just mushy. I like them now, but at the time it was just like horrible. But me falling asleep at the table is sort of directly the foundation of the Keen Dreams idea. So like
shared trauma, basically.
Yeah, Keen falls asleep and all the vegetables are attacking him.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Keen Dreams was kind of the sort of bastard child of the Keen series. It was one that you kind of had to get out the door.
Yeah, I didn't want to do a Keen for soft disk. I thought we should just keep all the Keens to ourselves, but we were satisfying some games and we were kind of working on games, so it just kind of worked out that way. So it just made it as a one-off kind of different type of thing for the series. So
yeah, well, I'm interested because even with a game that you don't really want to work on, you still put a ton of effort into it. Before the show, I referred to you as the Douglas Adams of computer games, and I really, really mean that, because some aspects of you're fighting vegetables in your dreams, or you're building a ship and you call it the bean and bacon mega rocket, and it's all of these things are just it's like it just pours out of you, all this creativeness that no one else can think of. So. When you start working on a game like Keen Dreams and you go, all right, well, this is one of those gigs that I'm not really too enthused of. How do you still find, the inspiration to, do something so awesome with it? Sorry for the weird wording of that.
Well, I'm excited to work on Keen games. That just pours out of me naturally. Just the business arrangement that was like weird about it, but because we had to finally get it back weirdly. But just thinking about things, it just sort of unfolds for me. Like Steve Jobs said, creativity is just connecting things. So my dad was a professional engineer and my mom was a writer. So I sort of had both sides of my brain built up from each of their influence. So my corpus callosum is kind of awesome. I could think sideways better than forward. Mm-hmm. So thinking up things is I can just make a name list of 400 names for something they just pour out. Mm. I just let my brain connect stuff and it just does that for me. Nice. But then things about business and money are just that's normal forward thinking stuff that just In fact, I once had to budget my money by calling it Gil, like in Final Fantasy VII. Then I was like, oh, yeah, no, I can budget. But somehow the dollar sign is like, what the hell am I doing now?
So the kind of gamification, it's okay, it's not as serious.
Then it's like, now I understand, I have to save my money. Because
then I can level my programmer or something.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, but have reading a lot and writing a lot, as well as getting a programming degree, sort of like exercise both hemispheres and made them both strong to sort of join forces.
Yeah, because that's one of the. I mean, just to reiterate the topic of the show, that's one of the let's say hard to find things in the world of game development is a programmer who's also a good storyteller. And well, it would seem that you're one of the rare cases where that comes together. Could you? Because, again, referring to today's topic, which we should probably reiterate at some point.
Is fine cheeses of Europe.
Yes, fine cheeses. When you started out in computer games, did you want to, write computer games, or did you want to tell stories? You said your mom was an author, so maybe, the storytelling is in your blood, so to speak.
Well, I was tumbling through a lot of sort of creative outlets. So, like, when I was a little kid, I made, like, marble mazes that marbles would tumble down. Mm-hmm. And then I did domino toppling, and I toppled like 2,500 dominoes with the dominoes go up a mountain and activate an elevator, and a snow speeder goes down a fishing line to start the dominoes, and mouse traps set off, and ping pong balls flying in the air, just like a whole bunch of stuff like that. And then I did magic, and then I wrote short stories and poetry. And then I did Super 8 films. So I made little sci-fi special effects films. And then on June 9th, 1980, I remember the day, my dad got us the Apple II Plus computer.
The stuff of dreams.
And so I got a computer that was super open and easy to use at the start of summer. So I had just had months to learn this thing, like play all the games, learn, how to make simple little games myself. And I ran them by my friends and parents and stuff. And I just learned so much that summer. I just dove into it. And I had made like 15 text adventures, some of which were later published on Softdisk.
Oh, cool.
But then I realized, I realized that, hey, the stuff I'm making is pretty much just as good as the text adventures other people are publishing. And I was like, oh, cool, like maybe I could do this. But then the practical side, I'll get a programming degree and I'll go get a job at IBM. And I got the and I did it as as a lark on the side. It was fun, And then I got my degree, applied to IBM and Gould, and got plant interviews. And then at the end of the interviews, they all said, "Is this what you really want to do?" And I came back and just thought, "No, I want to make games. Really, this is boring."
I mean, not to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like the programming stuff is kind of like how a writer uses a typewriter.
Exactly what it is. It's a medium. That's how I approached it, as a medium for me. It's just like I want to
still my heart.
Yeah, I want to create these experiences and these stories and these characters with this ability to make them come into reality. So.
But that's something that comes through in Keen, I think, is that kind of... There is, I mean, like the Peas story, there is a kind of universal thing to Keen, and that sort of childlike rather than childish kind of approach to the world of just wanting to go out and explore and all that kind of stuff. So it's universal, which must have been great for computer games in the 90s, which were seen as a kid's thing, but that adults were still buying.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, the difference between childish and childlike. I mean, I approach life sort of with a childish or childlike wonder.
First one, then the other.
Yeah, at first I throw tantrums. No, I think that's really important to see things fresh, and in a way, in the past few years I've gotten into meditation, and it just is the same thing, is to approach things with, not so jaded. Like there's so many amazing things. Like there's a Louis C.K. bit he did on the Tonight Show. It's just like everything is amazing now. How can you? It's like like they just said like, oh, we now have in-flight internet, but we're sorry the Wi-Fi is down for this flight. And then somebody goes, ugh. And it's like, how can you be entitled to something that you knew about 5 seconds ago? It's like you're in a chair in the sky. And everything is so amazing. So like approaching stuff with that sense of childlike wonder just like makes everything so much more amazing.
I love that. Because one of the first times, the thing that actually convinced me that I wanted to be a fan of yours was when I was looking through the pictures on the Rise of the Triad CD-ROM that had, pictures of, the development team all crowding around computers and such. And you were always the one pulling faces and, swinging a bat over people's heads. And I go, that guy, I need to know more about this guy. Okay, the programmer is pretty awesome, and the artist looks pretty cool, but this guy is weird.
This guy over here is fabulous hair.
Yes.
Yes. Well, have a sense of fun about everything. Like, I have that to kind of a fault. If something, isn't fun or somebody is being sort of negative and something, my creativity turns off. So I just like to be in a sort of like like right now my team at Glue, the Glue Play Studio, or we used to be Play First. They all feel like family. So like that's important for me. My creativity to work. I need to feel like that they're take care of all the other stuff and just be supportive, but maybe critiquing rather than like negative or something, and then I can just come up with a universe pretty fast.
The positive workflow kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when you like sit down and because again, to reiterate tonight's topic, cream cheeses of Switzerland. When I think Tom Hall, I think of games that require fast trigger fingers. You've got your 3D shooters and your platform games and such. And you said you used to make text adventures, which warms my heart greatly. Have you ever thought to sit down and apply your vast imagination to a graphic adventure game? Why is that a genre you've never touched?
Well, it's sort of like I did, 15 text adventures, and at the time, in Apple II land, the graphic adventures were fun. I really enjoyed them, but they at the time they were kind of slow. Like there's a Sherwood Forest one that looked really awesome, but in a way, I was a fan of. Like they weren't as amazing looking as my imagination.
Mm-hmm. Exactly what you mean. As a Sierra fan.
just the insane epicness of say a Zork or something, or any of the Infocom games. Like the production values on Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy Adventure would have been insane.
Oh yeah.
So. But then finally, and I grew not to be a fan of a lot of them not having sensical puzzles. I like puzzles to make sense and have sort of like an aha moment rather than just like, well, I tried everything. I guess I was supposed to hit the polar bear with a pie in the face or something.
It's a Yeti.
That was actually one. Yeah, that's right. And then so that kind of puzzle, I don't like. I like it to make sense. So, and I didn't like the learn by dying thing. So that I started to not like that. And then it got with other folks and started making games, and I made Keen and got into platforming and all this stuff. And then finally, LucasArts resurrected the graphic adventure in the best way possible. I mean, I'm such a huge fan of the Monkey Islands, especially the first two. And
the only two, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Do fuck off.
Yeah.
Well, this is not the venue. We need a separate episode for
that. Yeah. Okay. That's a religious argument there, but then and Tim Schafer's, of course, and this, I played the heck out of Full Throttle and all that.
Good shit.
Some Tentacle. Anyway, but I was, at other companies doing like other genres right then. So it was basically like I was a big fan of those, but we were, I don't know the timeline. We were doing first-person shooters or, whatever at the time. So it was just sort of like I was in a different genre at the time. I'd love to do one because I just love those. But they take time and stuff.
Oh, sure. But I mean, after it, you went with Ironstorm. You went with Romero to do Ironstorm, and you went and did Anachronox, a game that is chock full of story and set pieces. And I'm sitting there with my friend playing it and going, the imagination in this game is so wild. And I understand that the game that was released is in fact just only half of the story that was originally planned. And I'm just sitting there going, this game uses the Quake 2 engine. That must have been such a constraint almost. I mean, you couldn't like just have an artist draw up a nice huge fuck off picture and just have the sprites walking around it. It's you had to construct it in 3D and have all these RPG mechanics around it. I'm just sitting there going, this would be an amazing story. I just suck at all the actual gameplay.
well, actually, I mean, it was a challenge to do in the Quake engine, and obviously, if you have a superhero with kind of a box for a head, it was a little.
That's a very good analogy.
Yeah, it was a little challenging polygon-wise, but it was kind of hubris to try to do Final Fantasy VII meets Chrono Trigger meets Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, like with a team of 15. Like, Final Fantasy VII had like 150 people working on it or something, just crazy.
Yeah.
So kind of funny because. Oh, sorry. Do go on, Tom. Don't want to interrupt.
I came up with this just insanely epic story, and it was just at some point, Jake and Richie just sat me down and go like, okay, this is like way too large to actually do, and there's only one point that makes sense to stop at, and I was like, I know what it is. Oh my gosh. So all of you that finished it, I'm so sorry.
No, but I did. We did see the ending, and again, just spoiler alert. But the whole thing just ends with a song and dance.
Yeah. Oh yes, it does. Well, yeah, the end's like Reservoir Dogs in a way.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny how it seems like when you and John went off to do your own thing, then that wild imagination kind of left it. I think Trolls brought up that point earlier as well about
it's got dreary.
Well, I mean, yeah, it did. It did. You got Quake 2, which is basically generic science fiction. I mean, John Romero was still hanging around on Quake for a little while before he got disillusioned and left, and you'd already left as far as I know, isn't that right?
Yeah, so I left essentially right after Doom Shareware.
Yeah,
right.
Well, this is
but for me, I wanted to do some kind of innovations beside the tech.
Yeah.
And
Bible.
Environment dangers and just a tiny smidge of story, because as I explained, Aliens would have been a great movie if you were just you were landed on a place and aliens jumped out of the dark and you were scared, like a jump scare movie.
Yeah.
But you're given characters that you can briefly care about, just with a few couple scenes, and then the important thing though is they show you, even just in a 5-second scene, all the colonists transponders or whatever are in one place across the colony, and so you approaching that, you have a sense of dread, and that 5-second scene gave you a purpose and a reason for going somewhere. So and you had a sense of dread about it happening. So the new Doom, I've not played deeply into it, but it starts with that kind of like quick little story bits, which is, sort of similar to what I was, thinking of someone just sort of like giving you just a little sprig of story to like pull you forward rather than like an abstract maze.
Yeah, it's actually interesting that the modern shooters, not just the new Doom, but pretty much everything that comes out has these epic Hollywood story kind of things, even though they're kind of shit most of the time. But let's not dwell on that.
But I think that's something that they learnt from this period of time, I think, and it's people like Tom actually writing things like the Doom Bible that kind of did that, because people realised that the story isn't just a sort of a MacGuffin or just some kind of thing that, here's your excuse for being on Mars, have at it. To actually have that deeper story behind it, it not only helps explain it to the player, I think, and it helps you to build that kind of thing, but it seems to give a bit of a kind of a structure to the developers as well, so that they know where they're taking it, and because this is the way that most computer games work, if you sell one that does well, then sell another one with the number 2 on the end, and if that sells well, we'll do 3. It gives you a kind of
Dave Gilbert.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It gives you that kind of opportunity to keep
not all
going.
games need story. Like you wouldn't want like the Tetris story. You are blocks. But
now they're doing a movie about it. They're doing an emoji movie.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, but for when I feel like I'm the agent and I am a person, or like. It just deepens it a little bit, even if you're not like a defined character, to at least like what is my motivation for doing this? Frame what I'm doing, and it gives me a reason to go forward. Now, but I mean, arguably, Doom's an incredible game, and that sense of like not knowing what to expect was part of the raw cool of it, but. And maybe from the details that were there from the story I had developed, you sort of like, saw a UAC logo and technology and like sort of a base and stuff. It's sort of like, sort of bled into you from the visuals in a way.
Sort of like the first Alien, where you see Weyland-Yutani logos all over, and there are all these references to the company, but what the company is never fully explained. It's just this ominous thing that's looming over the whole incident.
Right. And eventually they did get... So my thing was... You're like demons fled into, and you think they're aliens, but they're demons. They fled into a base. It was in Titanga rather than Mars. But and then you go through the anomaly. You are stuck in hell for an episode, and then you come back out on the other side of the other pole of that moon, where another anomaly is, and the demons have perverted reality to their own twisted reality. And in a way. Doom 1 plus Doom 2 sort of made that happen. So you're like, you can essentially the Hell on Earth kind of thing was, the demons perverting reality and so on. So in a way, I'm glad that happened. But it just, to me, being a creative person, this was our 5th first-person shooter we made. So I wanted to advance it a little bit, and since since Hover Tank and all the Catacombs and Wolfenstein and Spirit of Destiny and that Doom. So
yeah, I remember Wolfenstein actually having a very detailed story. It was all in the README file, but it was there. And then you went on.
Plus, everybody has the context for like I am a prisoner of war, and Nazi bad. So you do that alone is like, okay, I got it. Got to get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, if you watched any kind of war film about a situation similar to that, you've watched Where Eagles Dare. You fill in the blanks.
That's the 1 second story, or the 1 minute story. There's like, okay, yeah, I get it. So
shoot Nazis.
Get out.
but then you went on to Rise of the Triad, which again gleefully violent, but also with a backstory, and dare I say a bit more of bit more of a silly approach to it in the most positive way possible. It's the first person shooter that is not afraid to have a bit of fun. I mean, there's a character in there called IP Freely, for God's sake.
Well, it's Ian Paul Freely, really.
Yes, that is true.
But yeah, well, I mean, that originally was going to be like Wolfenstein Part 2. And we were working with like the digitizing characters and stuff like that. And I think id just didn't want the maintenance of it. And maybe our initial like prototype was, you know, sort of grainier than the final product and stuff. So it was.
Was it because they saw the snake head with you at the head as the final boss and just went, this is weird?
All way after that, I think, you know, just like some of the technological compromises, we were kind of like trying to do Quake too early. So with the wrong engine, so we had the weird kind of like platforms and stuff. So I mean, it's totally reasonable, but I was basically at the time we decided like, they're busy working on the next thing. I was left with a whole bunch of digitized, essentially Nazis, and you know, a whole bunch of things to explain. So, Scott Miller, you know, came and said, I had all this idea of, you know, doing a thing called Rise of the Triads, and there'd be these 3 bosses, somehow blissfully unaware of the Triads real world. Yeah, so like everybody's like, there doesn't seem to be any Triads in here. But
no,
anyway,
it's just a triangle. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right, so I combined essentially, like, I had to justify that all these like weird World War II uniforms were showing up. So I just made an insane plot and decided to go over the top and just like, let's just have fun with this. and so
mission accomplished.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, and just like thinking as dumb jokes, like there'd be an actual God mode instead of like a God mode you type in, and then if there's a God mode, why not a dog mode? You know, and and we'd read this graphic novel called, I think, Mage, where this guy has this glowing bat as his sort of magical weapon. So I thought, like, well, let's have a, you know, it's like Excalibur, but, you know, with this glowing bat. So that's how Excalibat came out. and the programmer, William Scarborough, was on the team, and he was a big fan of anime. And, you know, he was saying, oh, they have these crazy weapons and all these things, you know. So we just started, like, going crazy. And you know, his legacy, he passed away a couple years ago, but his legacy is the drunk missiles, to be sure.
Oh, rest his soul. The drunk missiles were especially fun in multiplayer. This is, I mean, with Doom and Quake and then Rise of the Triad. I was always the one who wanted to play Rise of the Triad because there was this huge arena level and you could just shoot drunk missiles from each end of the level and it would just turn into a total chaotic clusterfuck, and my mom would have to come and shut us up because we were waking up the whole neighborhood. William Scarborough also made the Corp Shard level, which I like updated and sort of Quakeified, is the Corp Shard 2. So if you look for Corp Shard 2A, I think there is a little error on the map I want to fix sometime, but I know what you mean.
Anyway, but it's got a lot of secrets, so I thought, like, oh, this is my level, all these amazing secrets I added. I invented the health bridge, so if you put like a line of 100% health, you can actually walk through lava and get to another place. So I did that, and then I thought, like, oh yeah, now I'm going to play Romero on my level. Oh my gosh, the humanity, it was horrible. he's like pogo stick hopping on my head with rockets. Like he's dancing about the top of the level, like, where's he? Oh my god, you know.
And that kind of brings us on to something that we have to cover before we run out of time. So I'm just going to do it now.
Red Leicester or cheddar?
Yes, that's
Wednesday.
We haven't got that either, sir.
Good camembert. Yeah.
I actually like double Gloucester.
It's a bit runny.
Well,
All right.
I don't know how mentally running it is.
I'm not a cheese kind of guy. I actually don't. I just put the mild stuff on pizza, and that's about it.
At least it's clean here.
Over. That's cool.
But I can do cheese in the sort of in the non-literal sense. I mean, I'm very good at that.
It's still not the topic, and you wanted to get something important out of the way. So, lest we forget and cheese the whole thing up.
Yeah. Well, this is actually kind of off topic, but I just have to get it in there. I'm going to preface this with Rise of the Triad multiplayer. When you get a negative score, the character goes bucktooth. Now, you've gone on record saying that's not a direct reference to, but it's as good a segue as I can come up with to bring up the dopefish.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
We have to get that in there, sir. The dopefish started out in Commander Keen and suddenly became an industry-wide phenomenon. It's like the Easter egg that everyone puts in their game. How many games has the dopefish been in so far?
Oh, man, I don't know, like over 20. You can check dopefish.com, and Joe Siegler has all the...
Yeah, that's maintained by Joe.
Yeah,
of the Church of the Dopefish.
As any Black Sabbath fan will know, Joe, and this is a good thing, Joe is notoriously anal about his facts and his history. So, if there's a Dopefish appearance, then Joe will have it cataloged, same as he'll have cataloged a Black Sabbath release on his blacksabbath.com page. Now it's even more off topic.
Yeah. And John and his and Brenda's kid just did Gunman Taco Truck. And there's a dopefish in there.
That's awesome. Brilliant. Dopefish for the new generation.
Yes. And I love the quote that's always attributed is, I just drew the stupid little fish.
It's true. It's just, again, Hitchhiker, thanks for the Douglas Adams compliment, because Hitchhikers popped into my mind, and I was thinking about the bug bladder beast of Trawl, and I thought, well, that's the stupidest creature in the universe. What's the second stupidest creature in the universe? And I was just like, well, this big, stupid, dumb fish that has sort of that dumb look like in Chuck Jones cartoons. So again, it's just sort of connecting my influences. And so I just drew this, because hey, George, where did it go? That kind of character. And so I just drew this big, stupid, dumb fish, and they usually have big buck teeth and stuff like that. And I just thought it'd be funny if it was underwater. I thought it'd be funny if it burped underwater. And I think that's what
it farts too, doesn't it?
And of course, it does the Chuck Jones take to the camera. It looks at the camera and goes like that. Yeah. So I mean, and that's probably directly from One Froggy Evening. That Chuck Jones did. Yeah. So I mean, it's just all these influences coming together to sort of make a new thing. It's sort of like, if you look at Prince, it's like he's directly influenced by Jimi Hendrix and James Brown. If you just push those two people together and have them play all instruments ever, that would be Prince. Yeah. So that's all my influences are coming together, and they came out with this really, really dumb fish.
Well, I mean, it's not that off topic. I mean, because we were talking about your world building earlier, and one thing that I always kind of liked is how Billy Blaze is the grandson of one William Blazkowicz.
Yeah.
So there's kind of like this feeling of a shared universe.
Yeah. So yeah, we just kind of, that just kind of happened. They thought, oh, that'd be funny, and then the Doom guys is similar. So it's basically just sort of like a line of heroes, and that was the sort of the thing to explore. So it's kind of fun. I mean, like Quentin Tarantino kind of has the shared universe, so it's kind of fun to have all the things happen in the same place.
Yeah, Tarantino's a good reference, actually, because he's another one that's taken a load of influences from different films and sort of smashed them all together to create something new.
Right, we're kind of synthesizers, in a way.
Oh man, so I was just about to say something, and then I realized that Gareth's voice doesn't carry over here. So every time I say something, then his voice gets muted. So it was kind of threw me off there.
Sorry, kind of like one big trust challenge.
Yeah. Who has the talking stick? Come on, quickly.
I have the conch shell.
Yeah,
right.
The conch shell trumps all.
Lot of the flies.
Yes.
Because that didn't go down badly at all.
Oh no,
that was a great thing to model your life after.
So in terms of putting story into games that don't necessarily sound like story-driven games. Now, first-person shooters, we can give those kind of a break now because now they're finally catching up to what you were trying to do back in 1992 or 3 with Doom.
Sorry, I just wanted to interject. I would argue open world is as well, with what you brought up with and what I brought up with shared universe. Now there's a feeling we can make these big open spaces like you kind of wanted to do with Doom and the Bible, Tom. Okay, over to you, Troll. Sorry.
Yeah, but the whole thing was if you're how do you balance wanting to tell a story versus just having the gameplay and such? I'm reminded in this instance of the re-release of the Ducktales platformer, which on the NES was a true masterpiece of oh my god, holy shit, I'm going to die. It was a hard one, but then they did a re-release.
You neglected to say that in Scottish.
Yeah, you don't want me to do that, sir. But anyway, then they re-release it, and every time you just accomplish the slightest thing, the game pauses, and then dialogue boxes come up, and well, thankfully they got the original voice cast and the original voice of Scrooge McDuck, who was about 160 at this point, to actually do the voice. No, he was like 96 or something. It was phenomenal, but it just broke the flow of the game so hard in its tracks. How do you balance that? You've got an action-oriented game, and you want to tell a story.
All you do is never sacrifice gameplay for storytelling. Never disturb the flow state unless it deepens the next bit of gameplay, and get to it quickly. The worst example of this I can remember is Parasite Eve. Starts out with this big, huge cinematic, and then it allows you to walk up the red carpet into like this building, and then it does a second huge, long cinematic. Like, why did you give me the agency to walk up the carpet? Really? There's nothing to do there. And it's just like some game makers just go make a movie.
Yeah.
Make a movie. That's all you're doing is like, I'm playing your movie and occasionally interacting with it. And it's like, it's futile. So, I mean, I love character and story, but it should serve the gameplay. You should just be given context for what you're doing, and any sort of like exposition ideally doesn't interrupt your gameplay or is a reward for you accomplishing something big. So like, there's no reason to stop. Like, you can just like narrate like Bastion does, or you can have a character, a HUD pop up with a character talking to it like Deus Ex or something. That you don't need to interrupt the player and their immersion and their experience and their flow state by telling the story that you really want them to see.
No, and another thing that people designing games seem to forget is that games are a visual experience again. And I think actually the Doom games did this quite well, is by telling the story not through words and not by picking up logs, but just by going through. I mean, you're on a space station, then you're at the shores of hell, and then you're in hell, and the story kind of is told with you just moving through it, and you sort
do get these bits of text at the very end of each episode, but that's about
it. Yeah, but pacing can tell a story.
Written. Yeah, but I just like to have a sprinkle more, like you can justify anything you see with one sentence, and you can tell any story in one sentence. Just give me a little context of what's going on, and then it's a lot deeper. But I now have a surprise, which I just remembered, about Anachronox.
Ooh! So
if you take the battles out, like you said, like why haven't you done a point-and-click adventure game? If you take the battles out of Anachronox, it's secretly a point-and-click adventure game.
Yes.
Because the goals that you have and the things you do and the things you have to manipulate in the world are essentially puzzles, like a point-and-click adventure game. Like doing the elevator puzzle where you have to find the wrench and you have to, go fix something and so on. And, you have to go catch the speeder with a photo snapshot and there's follow quests and stuff. It's really kind of just, point and click adventure style puzzles kind of hidden there, like go find this person and find out the way into here and stuff.
That was exactly my thought when we were playing that, and also because we were so awful at it, we enabled cheat mode so we could just skip the random encounters because we were really getting into the story, and we just, why is this not an adventure game? Why do we have to dig around with stats?
So I can basically be accused of, I said, why don't you just go make a movie? And just like everyone else, why don't you go make an adventure game? Yeah. Well, partially because, people like the, big flashy combat and stuff like that to break up the puzzle. Because you don't want to sit there and just, stuck on a puzzle like you used to. That's what kind of killed the genre. Is like, I'm just thinking about now how to get across that bridge,
I mean, there was kind of a balance that didn't really work out because, as what you're mentioning there was incredibly frustrating back in the heyday of adventures, right? But then we got the so-called action adventure, which didn't, to my mind, do the balance exactly right either, and that's what I'm getting from. I'm sorry to say I haven't yet played Anachronox. I've been meaning to, certainly, and I've heard lots about it.
Someone cut together a movie version of it on.
No, that's right.
You can go watch.
That'd be amazing.
That's true. That was Jake, the producer of the the game, cut together the movie.
Oh, cool!
Sorry.
It won an award for best machinima, and I'm going, no fucking shit. It's fucking.
Yeah, but I mean that's all I wanted to point out. That the random encounters, like it sounds, to me with what Trolls is saying, was kind of a frustrated those who went for the storytelling experience. And in the 90s, lots of experimentation was going around, and now it feels to me as a gamer that we've kind of hit a balance with what's going on with open world games today, like Mass Effect or Assassin's Creed or, what have you.
Well, I think a lot of those tools are no longer new, aren't they?
Wow, I really set off the fucking bomb there, didn't I?
Yeah.
All right, talking stick.
There's a lot of inherited vibe that Mass Effect has from Anachronox, I think.
No doubt. Looking at from what I've seen of Anachronox, no doubt.
Who has the talking stick now?
Jesus.
What do you think? I want to hear from Gareth. He never gets a word in.
The British man.
Yes.
I was just going to say that we've got to a point, I think, where the 90s were where all those experiments happened because most of the technologies involved were new. And we've now got to a point where the technologies aren't new and we pick and choose the ones that we need to do the job that we're trying to do rather than, well, this is the latest thing, we've got to do this.
Yeah, it's sort of like if you compare the Star Wars prequels or special editions with the latest couple of installments that Disney have held.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Kind of like, we can do all this on computers, but don't the models look fucking great as well? We're going to throw some real models in there, along with the digital Peter Cushing, but we're going to balance things in the best possible way to tell the story, and that's true. That's what games are doing as well.
The digital Peter Cushing lives in digital Whitstable.
That's disgusting.
I've seen him on his digital bicycle.
Also, we've gotten to the point where you were talking about, Tom, about how to balance gameplay. The story should never get in the way of the gameplay. But we've now gotten to the point where some games are accused of not even being games. The dreaded walking simulators, which are just storytelling vehicles that happen to be on a computer. You don't actually do much except pick up pieces of paper and read them, but
I mean that's or opposite.
I think they're actually valid. I mean
they're incredibly valid. I love them.
Yeah, I mean it's like I just tried to speedrun and failed the Stanley Parable.
Yes.
But that was super entertaining and like replayable and hilarious in various ways and so on. And Dear Esther was interesting, maybe a little purple in the prose once in a while, but it's still like it was a really interesting experience, and there's nothing wrong with that. you're like forcing like, you know, super interactive gameplay on something that's just got an experience, you know, but it's, you know, interactive in that you just, you know, guide yourself through it. So I mean, I think they're pretty cool.
I mean, for your money, I'm sorry, Fred. I'm going to let you speak.
Cool.
I'm Kanye Westing you. If since gameplay, like, this has to be a game, there has to be gameplay elements in games. Now that that's kind of phasing out, and you know the borders are getting more broad and all of this. Have you ever thought of? I mean, have you ever sat down and thought, I just want to tell a great story. I don't want to make a movie. I don't want to write a book. I want to do an actual game, but I just want to tell a story, and I don't have to put in random encounters or puzzles or 6 million rocket launchers or something.
Well, I mean, if I was going to do that, I'd probably do a book. Because it's just like I just have control over it and I can do the story. If I was going to do that, I see the opportunity of fun interaction and essentially just fun too strongly to like just do a Dear Esther or something. I just like, you know, like I like the revelation that the explorers, like, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, you know, like dun dun dun. But it's more fun when you have agency to like reveal it yourself, so you feel like you did that, and that's just a lot. You get the hackles on the back of your neck, like, oh my gosh, I found this thing, you know. Yeah. So I mean, I appreciate the sort of walk simulator kind of story game, but yeah, it might. If I did one, there'd be a little more interaction, and it'd probably be like a little more interactive Stanley Parable kind of thing.
Yeah. Fred, you had I think this is probably going to be the last question we can throw at Mr. Hall, sadly.
I mean, it's not... I mean, we'll have to find another one, because all I wanted to say was once in a while you do get these games that people unanimously agree are great, where there is the balance Tom is describing. Like, I mean, I'm name-dropping BioShock Infinite, because people were really praising the story of that, but it's also a hell of a shooter. That doesn't lead into a question, though. I'm going to get one last question in there, and it's completely off topic, but I have to ask, will we ever see Commander Keen again?
I would love that, but it's hard for me to do another Commander Keen game when I don't own the IP. So if they want to be magnanimous and realize we're doing nothing with the IP, I would love to, you know, just, you know, finish out the rest of the trilogy and make him a viable character stuff. But like the Game Boy Color game or whatever it was, that just hurt my heart, because it was just done in a thoughtless manner and didn't really not out of a love of Keen.
You've been Ron Gilbert.
Basically, I want to finish his story, at least the one that was defined, and sort of you know, make it, you know, give closure to people. So there's a lot of non-closure I have in my career, given sort of business kind of decisions. But yeah, it would be fun to just do that. You know, I talked about, you know, like, what if I just, you know, in the background kind of just piddled away at Anachronox 2, but, you know, that's, you know, like, it would only take 150 years for one person to do it, you know.
Or 9 years.
Considered, it strikes me that you're too. Yeah. I mean, it strikes me that you're too creative for the games business. You have too many great ideas, and every time you get a great idea, you're told that you can do about a quarter of it or half of it and such. Have you thought about branching out into other mediums? Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'd love that, but I mean, the little bit I've dipped into the culture of like Hollywood and the way people are treated or act is like, you know, it's acts. It's definitely not it's like there's a lot of people that are negative or backstabby, or it just like, it's not a trusting place. So, you know, like you see, like the movie Chicago says there's only one industry where we don't have to like each other, you know, like it's just, I don't like that vibe. I like, you know, the games are like my people.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like they're nerdy people that care about each other and are open-minded and just love a good adventure.
Yeah, and they were used to being picked on as kids, and now they're in the their own cool club. So now creativity can flow.
We'll make our own.
Else.
Yeah, we'll make our own with beer and hookers. No, wait, that's
blackjack and hookers.
Blackjack and hookers. Yeah. Fred, you had one last question.
Yeah, I'm just curious because we've been talking about a lot of devices that you can, a lot of tools that you can use to get your storytelling across, and we've talked about how that has evolved ever since you, I can't pronounce that word, ever since you bitterly left id Software because of the way Doom was handled. The story of Doom was handled. So
it was
indifferent, or
No, it's just like we weren't working out.
Right, so creative differences.
Yeah.
But all I wanted to ask really was, if you do get to revisit Commander Keen, what tools would you apply to tell that story? Where is Commander Keen in the 21st century, so to speak?
Well, I definitely wouldn't do it in VR, because VR platform games where you see the character in front of you make people sick because you're not the agent of the camera.
Yeah,
it's nice that people are doing that, but it's not the medium for them. But yeah, I would just love to do just a really nice modern technology engine rendering, sort of the cute world, sort of like the that one person did the sort of Unreal demo for Mario. So it might be cool to do that.
Well, you did a Kickstarter for a create your own cutesy platformer game that sadly did not get funded.
Well, to be honest, I think that's fine because although the concept was Super Mario Maker essentially, and they just kind of said, "Hey, we should do that." We have the IP. I sort of rushed into that Kickstarter after Loot Drop, and I should have just given it the proper amount of universe creation and besides just the raw concept, which was I thought was a good concept and got proven out.
I would have loved it because I was not going to pick up a Wii U or whatever just to get Super Mario Maker. Although I've wanted to make Super Mario levels since I was 8 years old. So I would have loved to see that. Oh, Mr. Millward.
By the way, I can just mention that I did make a couple of Keen levels in Super Mario Maker. So if you want a couple of Keenish levels, I sort of borrowed some other people's costume characters, and there are some Keen-like levels in there.
Nice. Dr. Millward, do you have any closing words before I close the book on this?
Only to say that I really... thank you for that, Tom, because I really like your approach to just sort of mashing things together and trying to find linkages between stuff. I like to think that's the way that I approach things too. And it's good to hear from somebody that's had some success with that approach, at least.
Yeah, so combining things like storytelling and games and cheese.
Yes. Exactly.
Finest of cheeses.
Yeah. Yes. For my personal money, just the unbridled enthusiasm and imagination that you have is a driving inspiration for me. Really, I hope to one day be as weird as you, sir.
Thank you.
Don't we all?
I think that's a compliment. Thank you.
That it most definitely was. Most definitely. I mean, I come up with some weird shit, but I cannot compete, sir. No. Yeah, so the last thing on tonight's menu, I suppose, is to turn the mic over one last time to Mr. Tom Hall himself. Still can't believe he's on the show, although we've talked to him for an hour now. And ask the man, the myth, the legend, if there's anything you want to plug and anywhere people can follow your kind self.
Well, I'm on Twitter and Facebook and every other place as that Tom Hall. So I chose that Tom Hall because Tom Hall is too common a name, and Romero did like the Romero or something, and I couldn't do the Tom Hall because it was like, I mean, there was a country singer Tom T. Hall in the 70s, so I didn't feel like it was the Tom Hall, but and I I'm not as famous or something, so like people will go like Tom Holland, and then I'll say, oh yeah, the guy that worked on Wolfenstein Doom. Oh, that Tom Hall. So that's how that happened. And right now I'm working at Glue and doing the Dash series of games because I love Diner Dash as a classic game, and we're doing those games. And there's something special coming out in a while, which I can't talk about.
Ooh, the business side of things. All right. Nice. Well, look for that. We'll have links to those in the blog post, which Fred will write, I'm hoping.
Just get Fred to do it.
And can I just say, my favorite joke of yours of all time is in Rise of the Triad, when the game bugs out on you and a push wall escapes the map, this drawing comes up of a brick that says, "I'm free!"
Yes. I drew that just out because we kept having that bug, and then I just I might as well make fun of it because we keep having that bug, and there it is.
So you didn't actually fix it in the game. It's still in game. There's actually a map that you can warp to with a cheat code to make that thing appear.
So if you don't have a arrow to turn it back around in the map file, you get that bug.
Yes, everyone, it's the most fantastic thing ever. The second of that is the vomitorium, although that does physically make me sick.
Yeah, that was Joe Siegler's.
Yeah. So yes, our ending spiel is that we are the Backseat Designers. We do dearly love each other, although it doesn't always sound like it. But
you said that and not me.
Yes. And you can follow us on Twitter at BS Designers. We have a Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Backseat Designers. And we have money for
libel alert. Libel alert. Libel alert. Libel alert. Libel alert.
And we have a Patreon over on patreon.com/Backseat Designers. But you don't have to remember any of that because you can just go to our website at backseatdesigners.com and subscribe your little hearts out. So, on that note, say goodbye, Fred.
Goodbye.
And say goodbye, Gareth.
Goodbye.
And that's a goodbye for me. We'll see you next week.
No more for today.